Tommy Chong's story is one of grit, laughter, and survival. Born on May 24, 1938 in Edmonton, Alberta, he came from humble beginnings. His father, Stanley Chong, was a Chinese immigrant who arrived in Canada during the 1930s to work on the railroads, where Chinese workers were treated harshly and paid almost nothing. After being injured in World War II, Stanley became a truck driver earning just $50 a week. Tommy's mother, Lorna Jean Gilchrist, was Scottish-Irish and had been working as a housekeeper since childhood. The family's small house outside Calgary had no electricity or plumbing, and Stanley jokingly called their neighborhood dog patch. Tommy's early life was a lesson in poverty and survival, shaped by discrimination and hardship. When he was 3, tragedy struck. His mother contracted tuberculosis and spent 5 years in a sanitarium, while his father was away at war. Tommy and his brother were sent to a Salvation Army home for abandoned children. The staff were kind but constantly reminded him that he was different, calling him their cute little brown guy. Misdiagnosed with tuberculosis, he endured daily injections that left him in pain. Growing up, Tommy learned what it meant to be an outsider. When the family moved into a small room above a Chinese restaurant in Calgary's Chinatown, the smell of soy sauce filled the air, and his father's gambling habits and job struggles made life even tougher. Tommy found refuge in music. Jazz became his world, and through it, he found friends who shared his outsider status: Black, Indigenous, and immigrant youth. At 16, he dropped out of Crescent Heights High School and joined a mixed-race band called the Shades. They played local gigs and quickly gained popularity, but their success drew unwanted attention. In 1957, city officials told them to leave Calgary because they were too popular and not white. Forced into exile at 19, Tommy drifted through odd jobs until a car accident left him with a limp and constant pain. Unable to do physical work, he turned to humor as a shield, joking about his limp and about racism. Music and comedy became his survival tools. By the early 1960s, Tommy was in Vancouver with a new band, Little Daddy and the Bachelors, later renamed Bobby Taylor and the Vancouvers. They signed with Motown and released the hit, Does Your Mama Know About Me?, which reached number 29 on Billboard. But when Tommy missed a show to apply for a green card, Motown fired him. Disillusioned, he returned to Vancouver, and with his brother Stan, took over a nightclub called the Shanghai Junk. Once an upscale venue, they turned it into a wild counterculture hub with topless dancers and psychedelic art. When the authorities tried to shut them down, they registered as a Music Appreciation Society to stay open. The club became infamous for its outrageous shows and creative freedom. That's where Tommy's comedy career took off. He played guitar while topless dancers performed and began experimenting with improvisation. In 1969, inspired by Chicago's Second City, he formed an improv troupe called City Works. But unlike traditional groups, this one featured topless female performers. One day, a young draft dodger from Los Angeles named Cheech walked in. They hit it off instantly, bonding over humor, weed, and rebellion. Together, they built sketches that pushed every boundary. One of their early routines about dogs sniffing each other had audiences howling. When television producers banned them for being too controversial, they doubled down on their underground style. Their partnership became legendary. In 1968, while hanging out at a Vancouver party, they wrote what would become their most famous routine, Dave's Not Here. They moved to Los Angeles and began performing at the Comedy Store, where their stoner humor shocked some audiences but quickly built a cult following. Their first album, Cheech and Chong, came out in 1971, selling 500,000 copies without any radio play. The skit-based album was so realistic that DEA agents used it in training. As their fame grew, so did the backlash. They were arrested at campuses for fake weed props and banned by some venues, but controversy only made them bigger. By 1978, they released Up in Smoke, their first movie. It cost $2 million and made over $14 million worldwide, launching a new genre of stoner comedy. Behind the scenes, things weren't as fun. The duo earned only $25,000 each because of a bad contract that gave them just 10% of the profits. They fought legal battles and studio greed for years, eventually earning more for later sequels, but resentment built between them. Tommy often clashed with director Lou Adler, demanding realism on set and even using real marijuana during filming. Despite chaos and budget problems, Up in Smoke became a cultural phenomenon, with fans hotboxing drive-in theaters and treating it like a communal party. Through the early 1980s, Cheech and Chong kept producing hits like Next Movie and Nice Dreams, earning millions at the box office. But the relationship was deteriorating. Tommy took more control, directing and editing films himself, while Cheech felt increasingly sidelined. Arguments over scripts, money, and creative credit became constant. Their 1982 album Get Out of My Room was symbolic, Cheech's way of saying he was done. By 1985, after the release of the Corsican Brothers, their partnership imploded. Cheech walked away, leaving Tommy devastated and alone in a hotel room, crying over the end of a friendship that had defined his life. Tommy tried going solo, but his movies flopped. Far Out Man in 1990 was a failure, and he became trapped in the image of the aging hippie. Meanwhile, Cheech thrived, acting in Born in East LA, Nash Bridges, and Disney films. Tommy faded from the spotlight until 2003, when his life took another dark turn. Federal agents raided his home in a $12 million operation targeting paraphernalia sellers. Although 55 people were arrested, Tommy was given the harshest sentence: 9 months in federal prison, a $20,000 fine, and the confiscation of assets. Prosecutors said he was punished because his movies mocked law enforcement. In prison, he shared a cell with Jordan Belfort, the real Wolf of Wall Street, and wrote his memoir on scraps of toilet paper. The experience shattered him. He said he lost faith in the American justice system. When he got out, Tommy became a cannabis activist, speaking out against the drug war and government hypocrisy. But his struggles weren't over. In 2012, he was diagnosed with prostate cancer and refused traditional chemotherapy, choosing hemp oil instead. Within a year, he declared himself cancer-free, crediting cannabis for saving his life. But in 2015, he was hit with rectal cancer and forced to undergo surgery, radiation, and painful recovery. He lived with a permanent colostomy bag, which he eventually learned to joke about on stage. His wife, Shelby, became his caretaker, and his family surrounded him with love. The ordeal humbled him and deepened his belief in cannabis as medicine. Then, a surprising twist reunited him with Cheech. In 2008, Tommy's son Paris secretly emailed Cheech pretending to be his father, asking to reunite. It worked. Their Light Up America tour sold out across the country, and fans were thrilled to see them back together after 25 years. Though old tensions resurfaced, their bond remained.